So we're banging around in the shop over here, and Steve and I are getting ready to change the spark plugs and spark plug wires in my father's 2002 Ford Ranger. So if you have an 02 to a 2011, it has a 3.0 in it, the procedure should be the same on your truck. So let's dive into this thing.
Alright, so we're going to do a tune-up on this truck here today. We're doing the plugs and the spark plug wires. We bought the Motorcraft wires on Rock Auto, the original equipment. Bought the Champion plugs. We have everything laid out in order, shortest to the longest. These are the basic tools you're going to need to do the job. We got a pair of pliers here to pull the clips off by the valve cover bolts that hold the plug wires together. We'll show in detail how that works. And we're going to run the new wires around for the driver's side, run around the back of the engine intake and over to the things. We're going to put everything back into the holders, nice and neat. We're going to put dielectric grease inside the boots on the new spark plug wires. If these were old wires, we would silicone spray them. If you're going to reuse your wires and just do plugs on it, you can silicone spray your wires, put the dielectric grease in, and you'll be good. But it's basic tools to do this job. All right, so we got the spark plug wires here on the coil pack, and we got our 3 wires here on the passenger. We're going to start on the passenger side first, and we can use the boot tool here to remove the plug wires. We really don't care if they break because we're replacing them. Let's give them a wiggle and pull them off. Okay, now this last one broke. The tip broke off and it stayed on the plug. So that's one of the reasons that we're changing these, because we know that they were kind of brittle and he was having a little hiccup on the highway under high speed. And more than likely it was from that last spark plug wire. So we can use our small pliers and we can reach down and we can grab that metal tab and pull that off. And that's what broke off the tip of the plug wire. So these are old wires, truck's a 2002, so this can happen. We got our 3-inch extension, our 5/8 socket, and I got a swivel head ratchet in here. Slide down onto the plug. Crack it loose. Once I get it fairly loose, and I know I can spin it out by my hand, I usually go to the next one. All right, we got a 1-inch extension on here. This should fit in good. Crack that one loose. These are free enough now where I can just spin them out by hand. And I'm going to take all 3 out on this side and do the 3 together. Okay, you got our first plug out. Now we're going to keep these all in line and then inspect them to make sure we don't have one that's burning foul and different from the other ones. So we'll keep them all in line here.
So a lot of videos you see online, they'll say, this is how you take the spark plug out, and then they'll show you how to take the easiest one out, and then you don't see anything else, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So,
So if we run into something, we'll show you.
yeah.
That's how we roll, right?
Yep.
I think the worst truck I ever did plugs on, Steve, was a 96 Jimmy with the sawed-off friggin' V6 in it.
Oh, jeez.
That plug near the firewall.
Yeah. All right, so now the plug gap should be 42 to 46. And let's see how worn these are. These are at about 48. So not too bad. They're auto lights, and they didn't burn too bad. This one here is about the same.
Wondering if that bum plug wire was what was causing the skip.
Yeah. Yeah, about the same. All right, we're gonna get some Never-Sees. We're gonna put them on a little dab on our new plug threads, and we're gonna insert those. And we're gonna check the gap on them first to make sure that these are within spec. Sometimes these can be dropped. You know, you don't know when you get them in shipping. So these are supposed to be 42 to 46. This one's at 40. That's good. That's 40. That's the same, 40.
So on the front of your truck, there should be a sticker right here if you're unsure what the gap is. And it says right on here that the gap, spark plug gap, is 42 thousandths to 46 thousandths. It's kind of how you tell if you're not sure. And one thing we wanted to mention is if you get the pre-gapped iridium plugs, you can't really gap them, right?
Yeah, the tip is so fine that if you put a regular traditional gapper in there, you can break the tip on this plug here. So you have to, you know, I always want to check them just in case the box was dropped. And if you do have to bend them, you need to just grab a hold of the tip here and bend this up. Do not touch the iridium tip there. You want to bend this end of it up a whisker. So, but you have to be very careful. 99% of the time they come out of the box and they're good.
Yeah, but the plugs they're putting in there, they're not iridium. They're just...
These are triple platinums that we're putting in.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put a little bit of Never-Sees on the threads. And we're going to start putting them in. We already pre-checked the gap and they were good. So we're going to slide these in. Be very careful as you're sliding it in the hole. It should start nice and loose. You should not have to put a ratchet on this thing to get it going. And if you're questioning it, back it off a little and then tighten it up. So now I know that the threads have started correctly, and I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay, those have started good.
And if possible, you kind of want to use as a spark plug socket. A spark plug socket will have a little rubber boot down at the end that helps to keep the spark plug from slipping out of the socket.
Right.
When you're tipping the socket forward to go into the engine block.
You know, if you're not sure that you got this thing started properly, back it off and then retighten it, you know. Okay, now it's tight. Trying to keep the extension straight as I tighten this. Okay, so I'll put any pressure on the plug when you're tightening it. Okay, those are the 3 plugs for this side.
So we're gonna hop around to the driver's side, and these plugs are pretty easy to access as well. The change of plugs out on this motor isn't too bad.
This should be the same similar job for the Ford Escape, 3 liter. You know, it's pretty much the same coming in here. The access space that you're gonna have to do it, and if you have, you know, high mileage on this thing, 80 to 100,000. If you're going to go in and tune it, you probably, for the investment in wires, it's a good investment. So we use our plug wire boot to pull these off. I'm going to leave them off one at a time, and we're going to come back and change all of those after. We only had 1 break, and that could have been the problem that we were having with the skip with this thing at high speeds. So we're going to go in and pull the plugs. We're using the same tools, the 1 and the 3-inch extension, and we'll get these all out. You can move the plugs up out of your way to get in there and make access. And the number 1 plug, I have the 1-inch extension on there. Okay, I've got that one loose. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to pull them all out by hand at the end. Now the next 2, I'm going to use the 3-inch extension.
So what's the worst vehicle you ever took plugs out of?
My 2000 Expedition.
Oh yeah, because
I was laying on my chest for about 2 hours changing them.
it's kind of like a Frankenstein changing your plugs.
That was not good.
Yeah, so in the 2000 Expedition, they had that 2-piece plug in there. You have 5.3 in it?
Yeah, the 5.4 and
5, that's what I meant, yeah.
yeah, 5.4. And the plugs on the right side had the heater core hoses in your face, and the ones on the left had the power steering reservoir. All right, so these are all loose. I'm gonna take them out by hand. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get these lined up in a row so we can inspect them. You always want to look at your plugs to see if you have any difference in one plug, because you could have an issue with the cylinder or a valve or a plug wire. So at least you want to know that you corrected something. The last number 1 plug is coming out. And this one you need the 1-inch extension for, because you have the AC line that's kind of in your grill head. But it's still pretty easy to take it out, so. Okay. Now I'm going to do an inspection of our plugs. You know, we're gonna check the gap to see if any of them have a crazy over gap or they're worn. This one's 45, so this one's all right. Same thing with this one, it was wearing good. Same thing, this one's 46. Roland, what'd you do here, buddy?
What?
I think this is the guy causing the skip. I don't think it was the plug wire.
Well, that's what happens when you hit 77, you skip.
It's just not smooth anymore.
All right, so we're gonna just check the new ones to make sure that they're, you know, the same as the other ones were, a little over 40, and that's, yep, that's good right there. You can spend $2 a plug, or you know, $7 a plug, or more. And if you're gonna keep up on your maintenance, I wouldn't spend $6 a plug, but you know.
You know, though, I've seen those older plugs, those higher cost plugs will cause more issues than what they're worth.
Well, you know, most people are going to say, I'm going to go change my plugs at 60, 70,000 miles anyway. So, you know, it's not like you're going to leave them in there for 100,000.
Yep.
Some people do, and you can, you know, it all depends on your driving habits. But keep in mind, when you're in the winter here in New England and you're going to crank on a cold day, you don't have true spark, 100% spark firing off that plug. And that's what can foul a plug and start the fouling process, you know. Everybody on TV is road testing a car on a track in California for 100,000 miles, saying, look what I got out of my plug. Well, those are perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Most of us don't live in perfect conditions.
Yeah, come to New Hampshire, we'll put you to the test.
So if you're cranking, if your car's cranking a little slow, that can start the fouling of a plug. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put our plugs back in, and we're gonna put the anti-seize on them. And we just need a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. Like I said, if you're not sure that you got this started right, you back it off and then retighten it to make sure your threads are good. Get our last plug in.
The last plug on the driver's side. These are all pretty easy to get at. They weren't too bad.
Yeah, and you don't need a, you know, a swivel ratchet. You can get in there with a stubby and stuff. I like the swivel, but you know, the 3-inch and the 1 extension and a spark plug socket is key. And you know, like I said, we'll get these things all snugged up, nice. You just want them snug. You don't have to crank it, really tighten them or over tighten them, you know. And the never sees is going to help the next guy that goes in there, you know, that has to take these out. And that could be you. So do yourself a favor, use it.
Yeah, helps, goes a long way. Well, that helps to prevent some aggravation.
Sure does.
All the little tips and tricks we show you in these videos will help you save like a ton of money. Especially this stuff isn't too bad. If you bring it to a mechanic or something, you're gonna get charged a couple $100 to do something like this.
Yeah, and you can do this in your driveway
Yeah.
quite easily.
This is the first plug right here on
Yep.
the driver's side.
And like I said, the AC line is in your way, so you got to deal with that.
That's not too bad. It's
No.
seen worse. That Jimmy I had with the 4.3 in it, I had to get a rubber piece of gas line to get the plug in near the firewall. What a disaster that was.
Yeah,
It was a pain, that truck.
those are tough. This one's slow turning because there's not a lot of room in here between this AC line and this bracket. Okay,
Okay.
that's it. So all the plugs are in, and we can move on to the wires.
Steve's like the automotive stewardess with this little cot here, but he's not selling drinks. And he's not wearing a skirt. All right, so now what are we doing?
So we're taking these boots off here. Pardon me, these clips that hold the plug wires in place. Okay, they slide off of these valve cover bolts here, and they hold the plug wires on. Now we're going to do these 3 wires. We're going to take the clips off gingerly so we don't break them. They get old and brittle, and you want to make sure you can try and get these clipped back on, because if the wire is loose, it can hit the manifold, it can overheat it, burn it, you'll shorten the life of your plug. So you got a clip right here that we're gonna release, and we got a clip down here that we're gonna release, and we're gonna slide this other one up here. And all I do is I gingerly grab these things with the pliers, and you try and slide the whole piece upward. Like that. So now that they're loose, and what we can do is we can remove the clip from the wire with a little screwdriver. Make sure we get this right so we don't break it.
Yeah, there's a certain way you gotta release them.
Yeah, I'm
Need
gonna
a
get
flathead?
Yeah, I got one right there.
You use a flathead to release it.
Yeah, so it looks like you got this little clip right here that you can come in and pry this up a little bit to release that, and then we can take the plug wire off right there.
That's how you open it up. These
Yeah.
things get really brittle with the heat of the motor.
Yeah, so it's got a little catch right there,
Yeah.
and it locks on the end here. So you got to be very gingerly with these things.
If you break one, you can probably get one at
Yeah.
the dealer should be able to get one for you.
Yeah.
They're probably not that much money at all if you do
No.
break one.
I wouldn't think so. So
What you can do too is, what I like to do when I'm doing plugs, is you can do one plug wire at a time,
yeah,
so you don't get them all mixed up. Especially if you're not used to doing this stuff like we are. But this is like a little tip for you.
I like to do them one at a time.
Yeah, I still do too.
Still. And then over here we have this clip over here that we have to take off, and it looks like it locks on this side here, right underneath there. So we're going to take our little screwdriver and clip this one off here. Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about this one, but we're gonna keep working it, so. Come on, Alan.
There you go.
Okay, this one I'm going to take right off, and let's put this one up here. And all right, so now we have our three. We have the wires are marked, which is very nice on the motorcrafts. Okay, and so we're going to match these up one at a time. Now we had our red one that was right in the middle, which was number 2, and then this was the short one, was number 1. And this is the long one. So we're gonna go and match up. We want these things to go back in the same way that they came out. So we can pull this one off right here. And this is our longest wire on this. And by buying the OEM, you can do a direct length match, which is nice. We're gonna match up our wires, and we laid them all out, shortest to longest. And this one ends up being third wire here. And it looks just a whisker longer, but it's not this one.
I don't see a dog barking at my father. I don't keep a hockey stick up there.
Yeah. So we're gonna go with this one that's just a little bit longer, because I believe the orange one matches the orange one in the middle. So, and this one's just a little bit longer than that one. So we're going with this one here. So we got our wires matched up. And it's just that here longer, so.
But not much.
Nope. So push this one out of the way, and we're gonna take the dielectric grease, and we're gonna put just a little smidge inside here. It still works. There we go. Just put a little dab in there, and we can put a little dab on this too, right around here.
And what does this help to do, Steve?
This is gonna help keep the moisture out of the wire, so you don't have a misfire. And when you go to remove it, it's gonna make it a lot easier.
Exactly.
So now we have our boot. We can slide it on here, push it down. We just heard it click in. And we're gonna put this plug on the wire down here, and we're gonna put our clips on at the end. Now you just heard it snap on, so we got that one on. And we're not worried about getting our clips on until we get all our wires in place, and then these things will tuck in line, kind of just like that. We'll get this plug wire, it's all snapped on, and it'll clip into these 2 clips after at the end, and we'll make it look nice and neat. So we'll go after the next plug wire here, which is this one here. And we're gonna go take a measurement over here. This one has got the orange boot on it, which was the second one. And that matches up with this one. So we can transfer our clip after. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put a little dielectric grease in here, that in there, and a little in here. Clip this on right here. You hear the noise from it clipping on. This one will tuck down underneath here, and we'll clip this one on right down here. Okay, we just heard it snap on. Okay, now we got the number 1 that we're gonna take off here. And we can go and match this up. So the new ones are not marking them. So with number 1 like the original, and we just match these up. And they look like they're about 3/4 of an inch longer, but that's okay. So, so we've got this one out of the way now. And we're gonna do the same thing, get our dielectric grease on it. And same thing on this side. Go and snap this on. It's just clipped in there. And you run this over to the back. And that clipped on. Now we're gonna get our boots. We had the clip that was over here that held these 3 wires together, which was this one. And it was kind of in this area here. Get these all in. Get the clip to lock in place like that. You can slide them up so that, you know, spend a little time so it looks like a clean job. So these slid down like this. So now we got to get this boot onto here like this. And you can lock these in. Poor Roland's getting harassed.
Dak dog.
That's funny. Oh shit. We have a 10-foot tall Shih Tzu upstairs that's ready to chew Roland's leg off right now. So we spent a couple minutes making sure that these wires are in good. Nothing's touching the valve cover here. So we're all in good shape. Everything looks clean and neat. Now we're gonna do these, which run around the back side. There's 5 clips on this. There's one here. There's also one on the back of the valve cover, and there's 3 more, just like these plastic clips that we took off over here. So we have 5 of those to remove. We're gonna open those all up, and then we will replace the last 3 wires. There's one. And we're gonna open you gotta clip on these right here, which is a little flathead screwdriver.
Clips can be a pain sometimes.
Yeah, it's all right, it didn't break, that's good. And take this one off. These 3 here. And pull this one up here. And we have to separate this one. I think I'm gonna get a little 90-degree pick to remove this one. Okay, get a pick.
Okay.
So we're leaning towards pulling the remaining 3 wires out with all the clips on them, feeding them through, putting them together on the bench, and then running them down. So you got 4, 5, and 6 wires on this side. And you got 2 grays and a black boot, and our wires are identical to them. So we're gonna go that route. So I'm gonna remove these clips right here like we did on the other side, and we're gonna try and take this thing off as an assembly. Okay. All right, so we're gonna try and feed these right through and around. Get them like that. Feet underneath here. I'm going to come around the other side and try and pull up on that.
Now, if you don't want to do it this way, or feel comfortable doing it this way, you can also do, 1 wire at a time and replace them at a time so you don't mess up the firing order. But the firing order, do we know what it is?
well, they have, it's 4, 5, and 6 left, and these are all marked, so.
Okay.
And we can put a mark on these, and let's do that. We'll get a little pen mark on them, so.
So on the driver's side, starting from the one closest to you would be 4, 5, and 6, right?
Yeah.
It's like 4 would be the one up here, 5 would be the middle one, and 6 would be the closest one to the firewall.
The black one is here, so we're gonna match that one up. We're gonna take these clips off one at a time, and we'll get these things locked into place. So we're gonna start putting these clips on, and you can slide these around after they're in place. They do have a little wiggle room to slide them around. So we'll put them on, and then if we have to, after we feed everything into place, so we have to adjust anything, we can still, you know, slide the wires to get everything fitted so it doesn't rub anything. So we put all our clips on, we laid everything out the way it was. We just mark these so that we know where they go. The new wires don't have, you know, 4, 5, and 6 on them like the originals. But we laid everything out in accordance. We put the clips on so that as we feed this back in, we should be really close. If we have to slide these over a little bit, we'll have some room to do that. For the ones that run around the back of the engine, it just seems like it was a little easier to do it this way. So we'll feed these through, feed these around the back of the engine. Once we get them in place, we can put the dielectric grease in them, and we'll clip them on. Okay, we ran the wires together in a group, all threes, locked all the clips together like we showed you on the bench. And we locked our clips in over here, and on the back side over here. And then we got a clip over here that's locked in. And then after we dielectric grease and put our boots on, we put the last clip that we have to clamp those together. So right now, we're comfortable with the way this all landed. So we're just gonna take our boots one at a time, and we're gonna put a little dielectric grease in there, and we can slide our boots on one at a time. Like that. And that gives us just a little more boot here. And that's comfortable looking. Nothing's rubbing on each other. So I'm comfortable with that. I think we're gonna be good. So let's go over to the other side and finish that up. All right, so we got our wires running back here. Everything's secured, nothing's rubbing on anything. And we have our plugs all plugged in here to the coil pack wires. And we got our last clip on right here. And nothing's rubbing on anything, and that's a good clean install.
Let's start her up, make sure it runs okay. Purrs like a kitten.
That's good.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. Hope it helps you out. If you have a question, leave a comment. I'll reply back to you. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.